The dollar's empire is crumbling. The power of India and China and America's fear. Imagine that green blanket of currency, notes the world trusted for decades, whose shine mesmerized entire economies, now starting to lose its color. The currency once seen as a symbol of power is now facing questions in its own home. The US dollar, once called the global currency king, now sits uneasily on its throne, like an aging monarch who knows his time of power is ending and a new era is knocking at the door. This isn't just a story of economics, it's the saga of a power struggle in which new contenders like India and China have stepped onto the field. And this time, their aim is not just to claim a share, but to change the rules of the entire game. Today, we will discuss this topic in depth. But before that, if you're new to our channel, please don't forget to subscribe so you get updates on all our new videos first. So, without any delay, let's begin today's discussion. You should know that the voice of American economist Gerald Celente makes the echo of this changing era even louder. In an interview, he said bluntly, the dominance of the dollar is ending. In his eyes was that certainty which comes from data and experience. He believes that countries like India and China are now economically stronger than ever before, and behind this strength is not just production or exports, but a solid strategy of self-reliance. He stated clearly, the BRICS nations are opposing US foreign policy, and this is a historic turning point. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa today are 5 names that hold 40% of the world's population and a major share of global production. This statement came at a time when America is trying to stop its rivals using its old methods, tariffs, sanctions, and economic pressure. Recently, the US imposed a 50% tariff on Indian goods. The reason? India was buying cheap oil from Russia. This step wasn't limited to India. Brazil was punished in the same way. Think for a moment, when the world's largest economy points economic weapons at its old trade partners, what fear is it really feeling? The answer lies in the changing balance, where America's I say, you obey era is coming to an end. Cuban-American journalist Rick Sanchez asked Celente in a podcast the very question everyone had in mind. Why is India buying Russian oil despite US pressure? Celente smiled and replied, because only 2% of their GDP comes from trade with the US, that's all. He went deeper into his point, saying, India is now becoming more self-reliant. It is producing its own goods and selling them in its own market. Hearing this, one can't help but picture a historic scene, the America of the BRICS century, when it too was self-reliant, when its farmers and factories met the nation's needs themselves, and foreign pressure was never a question. Today, that same model is returning in India. And that is exactly what worries America. India's self-reliance is not just a policy shift, but a transformation in mindset. For decades, India was labeled a developing nation, and attempts were made to direct its decisions accordingly. But now, this nation of 1.4 billion people trades on its own terms, whether it's oil, technology, or defense deals. And this is what irks America, because it means India is letting go of its addiction to the dollar and the US market. Celente's analysis doesn't stop there. He points to China and reminds us that there was a time when China had neither heavy industry nor advanced technological capability. But after Western companies moved in, China not only learned, but went on to lead the world in several sectors. Take electric vehicles, for example. Today, China is at the forefront of this industry. Celente says, China is now self-reliant, and that's what makes it unbeatable. The real danger here is that if both India and China become self-reliant, the world's largest market and production hub will slip out of America's control. Then the question arises, what right does America have to interfere in other countries' economic decisions? Celente's answer was straightforward, none. His voice carried both frustration and anger. He clearly stated that America's attitude has become outdated and the world is tired of it. There was a time when American power was seen with respect, but now, for many countries, it has become a burden. The stance of the BRICS nations only strengthens this discontent. Representing over 40% of the world's population, this group is now challenging US policies. In Celente's words, the world is fed up. Then he cited the numbers. India has 1.4 billion people. China also has 1.4 billion. The US has only 347 million. This comparison alone shows how massive India and China are in terms of population, production capacity, and market size. And now the most important question. What will happen to the dollar? Celente claims the death of the dollar has already begun. He pointed to US monetary policies, especially Trump's 2018 decision to cut interest rates, as a major reason for this decline. According to him, the US economy is going down, and for the dollar, this is a slow but certain end. How exactly this end will play out, perhaps no one knows yet, but one thing is clear. The trust once placed in the dollar is now eroding. The BRICS agenda reflects this. They are working to reduce their dependence on the US dollar in their trade. This is not just an economic step, but a political message. We will trade with our own money on our own terms. The impact of this change could be so great that in the coming decade, the face of international trade itself might be transformed. Along with this, the BRICS nations' strategy is to distance themselves from Western institutions like the IMF and the World Bank. For decades, through these institutions, America has set policies, imposed conditions, and pressured countries' economies. But now the game is changing. Countries like India, China, and Russia are creating new financial structures and payment systems that will not require the dollar. This entire story is at a point where America must decide whether it will move forward with its old arrogance or adapt to the changing era. Because if it doesn't change, its name will be recorded in history much like that of the British pound's collapse, a story of an empire that failed to keep up with the times and crumbled.
If our video has taught you something new, do not forget to like and share this video so that this information can reach others as well. Your likes and shares are a source of inspiration for us. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let us know in the comments. It will be our honor to answer your questions and listen to suggestions. And yes, if you like our content, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you stay connected with every new story. Thank you. GRT Business YouTube channel sources, news from various news agencies, opinion polls and other public sources. We try to ensure that every report and summary is accurate and verified, but we are not responsible for any dispute or error. Our aim is only to provide you with accurate information.